I'm Chuck Strongman at Duran Q Amateuraka. Thank you for selecting this video on metaphysical frauds and moreover, how to know when you're pursuing a genuine path of personal unfoldment and personal evolvement. And indications of a real master as your teacher, guru, or guide. Alright, thank you for selecting this video. Now, before I get going, if you like the video by the end of it, please give it a thumb up. You can feel free to give it one anyway, even if you didn't like it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Activate the notification bell feature and share the joy of the channel with others. Now, with those things having been humbly suggested, let's move on. Now, I'm taking a chance here. This is material that's not in the public domain. I have not written anything about this myself, and I haven't found anything about this that is in the public domain. I don't know how to reach the person who wrote this. I'm not sure even where it came from. It's in my archives. It says copyright 2001 Laksa Moore. Where that came from, I'm not sure. And I don't want to plagiarize here or step on any toes. So I'm going to read little lines, sentences, and then maybe fill in a little for myself. Or I don't like doing this, but you should know about it. You, my viewers and subscribers, and those interested in such material as what's on my channel here, you should know about this. And I think this is pretty good material. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to wing it. I'm not going to do the main part of this. Has to do with metaphysical frauds, how they come about, what kinds of things they do. I'm going to skip on down to some points to consider and remember. Number one, before looking into, let's say, for lack of a better word, the metaphysical world, as perhaps to find causes for your personal problems and look for their solutions, look for them first in the physical realm. This applies also to things that you might not understand about the physical realm. Just look for such things first, to do some research. Instead of believing that things are supernatural in nature right off the bat, first, see if their causes are of a physical nature. All right? Next. Now, see, I'm doing pretty good here paraphrasing. I didn't read any of that from... I really am... I don't like to step on toes like this, but I'm taking a chance here, like I said. Next, if you are going to engage in a system of paranormal or metaphysical development, look to see if such a system, if any given system lays down, or at least put strong emphasis on spiritual principles as the foundation. Those that teach metaphysics of any kind, really, without some basic spiritual, ethical, and moral precepts, unknowingly, probably, unknowingly, they are instruments of dark forces that always seek to delay the spiritual progress of humanity, and that's one way to do it. Get people involved in practices, techniques, development of mental faculties, as the basic tools for such development. If they don't if you're not real solid on your basic ethical and moral concepts and be put to the test somehow, right up front, you may be going down a bad path. Because the further you get with your mental capacities and the dual-edged sword nature of a lot of self-mastery and personal evolvement work, the more likely you are, the further you get, the more results you have at your hand with your experience, the more prone you are, one way or another, and there are various ways proneness can come about, but the more prone you are to actually slowing down significantly or even reversing actual progress, the actual progress of humanity. Okay, so be careful. Next, avoid schools of thought, teachers of this ilk that offer some kind of instant unfoldment, psychic, spiritual. Probably it is the case that such schools and teachers aren't even aware of the short and long-term adverse effects of their methods. Methods that promise to give quick results. If they are aware of it, then there's something real sham going on. If they're offering something instant. This isn't to say that such methods won't work. Some things do bring quick results. We're just implying that there may be dangers that the providers of such instant effects aren't even aware of. They may even say that dangers don't exist, that everything's fine, it's safe. Or just put it out in the context of that kind of a way of believing about it. If you're seriously interested in studying this kind of material and pursuing it actively, find yourself a genuine teacher or a school with genuine spiritual traditions, lineage, and roots. And if there's no such thing as a long lineage of such a tradition, and you look for an individual teacher, look for the moral precepts, look for the genuineness and other characteristics which will follow. All right. A genuine teacher also gives instruction and guidance that are lifelong, not limited to a short course of study. They'll teach you how to unfold naturally and not force your growth in any way. Next, avoid paranormals and metaphysicians that make bold claims and advertise themselves excessively. The genuine metaphysician that has something to offer for others, makes it available somehow, doesn't advertise like that. Such a person knows the helpfulness. And it depends, in large, almost exclusively, that word about what he or she is doing, providing help for others and guidance for others, you just let it spread mouth to mouth. It's an ego trip that makes paranormals advertise themselves clamorously. Even medical doctors and psychologists who serve the public don't advertise themselves in clamorous fashion. The psychological reasons for reducing paranormals below the level of other social service by advertising clamorously, they've got the psychological reasons behind this, such as insecurity, sense of inferiority, ego-centeredness, or even malice. And avoid teachers of psychism that commercialize their teachings or services in an irrational and ostentatious, like bigger-than-life manner. They'll probably overcharge you for their services and make you dependent on them, so that you have to keep coming back and back. Now, that's not the same as a lifetime program, a lifetime system, a lifetime path that allows you to unfold naturally. This is kind of a thing that may actually be the case. A good teacher may provide you over a long term with all the tools for you to be able to take over for yourself and not need the teacher anymore. Give you the tools. Teach you how it works through experience, through your experience, as well as your learning. It takes a long time for that. It takes a good while for that. But the good teacher should also slowly wean you off needing him or her. but always be available to you. Now, there's a way to go about that, all right? Paranormals or metaphysicians making strange and unethical demands should be avoided at all costs. Avoid doubtful characters posing as paranormals, metaphysicians, adepts, spiritual gurus, masters, and teachers. Always learn as much as you can of a person's character, their motives, and their purpose before establishing any kind of like a teacher-student, master-disciple, guru-disciple, whatever relationship with them, or seeking their help in any way. And be cautious of the services, wares, and products of paranormals. These are selling in large. Disregard predictions that they make concerning your future. Fortune telling is a dangerous pastime when taken too seriously, and genuine metaphysicians will hardly predict someone's future. The genuine teacher will teach that one is to be a cause of one's own well-being and happiness, and not be the receiving end of some adversity caused by external forces. In other words, teach the student how to master themselves. All right. Now, here are some characteristics of a spiritual master. Now, this is not the opinion of everybody about this. It's pretty strict. And, you know, there are various different, excuse me. I'm going to suggest here that there are different levels of mastery. A person may be said to have mastered what they're teaching, what they're offering. And then the person will perhaps admit their limitations or the things that they're not expert in. They'll be honest with you. They will give you what they are certain of, what they themselves have put to the true test themselves, and things that are grounded in basic moral precepts and spiritual laws, which they will talk to you about right from the start. Okay. So, again, there are various levels of mastery, I believe. There are emphases where mastery may be the case, whereas the person will say, I'm not a master of this over here. But, you know, if you want to say I'm master of something, well, this is what I'm sure of by way of justified belief backed by experience. Or experience backed by, well, they work together. Justified belief, I'm not saying knowledge, I'm saying knowledge. I take to be justified belief plus corresponding experience. Then you may say you have knowledge. Now, you may come to a point where you have, one might say, mastered a certain area, and you have knowledge of it, and you can use, and that this is what you present for others. And that's all. Okay, so different levels and different breadths of mastery, okay? But I think this is pretty this is demanding, okay? But here we go. A master expresses beauty in everything he or she says, with every physical movement, every glance. Is likewise deeply sensitive to beauty in all of its forms. How about that? Next, the master never directs attention to himself. Never indulges in self-aggrandizement, self-promotion, self-centered thought, self-centeredness. He's egoless. At least with all interactions with a student. A master has a strong, steady gaze that penetrates the soul. You often seem to be looking into the infinite distance when not looking straight into your eyes. The master has a deep respect for all members of the kingdoms of nature. And his presence, or her presence, radiates power. Again, I think this is a pretty good list. Unconditional love is a basic quality of a master. And I mean a master with a capital M, you know. I'm not talking about an ascended master, you know. I'm not getting into metaphysical speculation here. I'm talking about incarnate people whom we may rightly call or consider a real master. Okay? Unconditional love. Never judges. At least not his students. Never shows an indication of being that part of this person, of his or her character to a student. No. But, moreover, is genuinely like that, too. He's always somewhat detached and compassionate with respect to judging others. No. On the contrary, impersonal, detached, and compassionate. He's a master of wisdom. A master of what? Enlarged wisdom. But what is that? His understanding of life and cosmic laws far exceeds those of the average person. There are various descriptions of what wisdom is, and, through time. Aristotle had one, a little bit different than this here, but I'll support this. A true master is a master of wisdom. His understanding of life and cosmic laws far exceeds those of the average person. I think that's a fair statement. A master, though possessing some or all spiritual and psychic powers, have renounced their use of them except for emergencies and urgencies. He therefore will hardly ever reveal to anyone that he even has any such abilities. The master never commands. He will simply suggest. He never instills fear, but he awakens courage. He never makes you feel bad for yourself. Or of yourself, I mean. On the contrary, he helps you to build self-esteem. Gives you the way to, in the end, once weaned off, right, from the help of the master, will have given you the ability to master your own self-esteem. As a rule, the master never predicts a person's future. He never flatters the human ego. He'll always lead you and direct you to the ultimate goal. Always keep you aware of the ultimate goal and lead you there. He may teach lower laws, truths, forces applicable, techniques, training steps to the improvement of mundane life. He won't place too much emphasis upon them, though, instructing that the phenomenal world is nothing but a dream and is illusory. And any of this, he will direct your attention to more important matters. That's the point. Keep you aware from the start of where all of your learning and experience and development, what the ultimate goal is. Right? He'll seldom speak to his students of his past, of himself, his background, unless it's pertinent and useful as illustrations in conveying in him, setting forth spiritual teachings. He's, such a person should be psychologically stable. Should be. I'm going to say might not be. But this is talking about a real, like a bona fide, all the way master. All the way. He's universal, not sectarian in his attitudes. He sees all people as expressions of the supreme, regardless of their religions, color, race, sex. He might not be religious himself. He's deeply spiritual. And they have no affiliations with any specific religious path at all, or even suggest one to others. Not a religious thing at all, really. The real master is creatively original. Probably doesn't smoke any tobacco. He's creatively original. Being enlightened by his own divine essence, a master would teach or even write books directly from his heart and his own experience. He wouldn't plagiarize the work of others' teachings or teach things that are outmoded. You know, like dig up some old bits of wisdom that even in their day were considered, hey, but, you know, when seen in a grander scheme of affairs, they kind of like just, it was somebody speculating 600 years ago or whatever, you know. It should be realized, though, that most masters don't write many books. They don't do a lot of writing. They leave that to their students, their disciples, whatever. They're creatively original. They might not even be good at writing books. They're giving personal assistance, is what they're doing. If their disciples or students want to go ahead and develop manuscripts from it all, that's probably when that's going to happen. Masters don't argue. They know that no amount of argument is going to convince the skeptic. And those who are true, for those who are true seekers, no argument should be necessary. They also never proclaim or reveal their spiritual status and speak only when their words they speak only when their words are beneficial and cause positive motion. Now, talk about their spiritual status. They're usually pretty reticent to do that. A genuine master embodies at least most divine virtues. A master is childlike in a sense. Focus their attention on the problems of humanity. And they're a fount of wisdom with regard to these affairs. A master is often unpredictable. His ways are not always understood. Remember, creatively original. Master serves by awakening the slumbering soul within his fellow men. The master will not sympathize with the feelings of the human ego, where he doesn't recognize imperfection. He's simply aware of the perfection of the divine indwelling in the spark within the microcosmic man. He's not going to pander to, especially a disciples or students' ego, human ego. Master probably, for himself, doesn't have any egoistic desires, and he no longer functions from that personality type level. He's given up his human will in favor of the expression of the universal will, the divine will. Master knows no death, really. His consciousness goes beyond the confines of time and space. He knows and comprehends I'm going to add changes. Changes in form, changes of worlds, changes of disintegration of a body and reintegration into others. But he understands that his consciousness goes beyond the confines of space and time. Therefore, if he talks about death, it's probably not in the same way that the common person does. Maybe quite a different idea. A true master won't hasten a student's psychic growth prematurely by any kind of like transference of power, like giving you, like touching you or transferring over some power to you, to give you a jump ahead with psychic powers. Good grief. predominantly concentrates, on the other hand, upon raising the consciousness, improving the character, the spirituality, increasing the wisdom and understanding of his students. It doesn't judge the outer person of others, but looks into the depths of their souls for value. I mean, it doesn't make others feel guilty or sinful. He leads others away from such things, helping them to find it in themselves. He may appear aloof. Impersonal, detached, like we were saying before, but the master is full of affection for his students. And the master will appreciate every small service that's offered to him, and to the great work of manifesting the divine plan. I'm going to read this now, all right? Straight out. Perhaps one of the most outstanding and admirable characteristics of spiritual masters is that they do not consider themselves to be masters. That's their humility. It's genuine. They know they still have a considerable amount of things to master and learn, like I was saying earlier, right from the start here. There's always more. There's no all the way to mastery, across the board, spiritual mastery. So it finally came to that. It was a pretty strict list. A couple of those were pretty, like master embodies all spiritual virtues, and that's, well, that's a strong statement, right? The real spiritual master knows he still has a considerable amount of things to master and learn. They're so much aware that they're still undergoing the learning process, and they're embarrassed to call themselves masters because of that. They might be embarrassed to have anybody else call them that, but they may accept it. They may accept it. Why argue against it, right? Why argue about it? Why correct somebody? You don't know if the person is genuine in saying, "Hey, so and so is a master," like you're a master or something like that. If they mean that, then that's what you are. That's true for them at the time, providing the person meets these other characteristics. Especially if the person himself isn't calling himself a master. Now, by explaining this stuff above, this doesn't mean to imply in any way the person says, I'm not a spiritual master. The road where I'm standing, he says, still extends to the unseen distance. We emphasize the principle that by the fruits we shall know the tree. In truth, the human ego is nothing. Absolute. Universal. The true self. These are everything. In performing their divine and spiritual duties, spiritual masters declare something along these lines. I'll read what this says, and then I'll kind of interpret a little, translate a little bit. It is not I that works, but the Father within me. Okay, that sounds a little religious to me. Here's a way to put it. That makes more sense to people. It might seem a little more down to earth, a little more graspable. I'm not doing this from my own personality or by my own will alone or due to any personal agenda. This occurs as it flows through me. It's universal will at work. I've opened myself to that. This is where it comes from. The humility, remember? An agent, to be an agent of universal will is, that's a big deal. It's so big that it's humbling. And a genuine master is very aware of that. It's a solemn affair. That's what we got. That's it. 30 minutes. All right, that's pretty cool. Remember, I didn't write that. Most of what I said was my own interpretation, my own commentary. Did you like the video? Thumb up. Did you hate it? Thumb up. Did you think it was alright? So-so? Thumb up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Activate the notification bell feature. Keep checking back anyway. Share the joy of the channel with others. You heard it right here on Theron Q Ramacharaka. I'm Turk Strongman. Be